Hi everyone, welcome to our virtual Lunch and Learn session for October. My name is Mark Fower. I'm a client engagement principal and the AI machine learning practice lead here at DiUS. I have the pleasure of introducing today's talk on taking a customer-centric and data-driven approach to delivering omnichannel customer experiences. Just a reminder that following the talk, Tom, if you don't mind, click it over to the next slide. There will be time allocated to answering any questions you might have. And as we've done so in previous sessions, we'll be using Slido to capture those questions. So please go to www.sli.do and enter the event code 37432. That's 37432. You can also scan the QR code if that's your preference. The link and code will be also provided in the chat window, and we'll show this slide again during the Q&A. Now, before I hand over to Tom and Brian, a quick introduction to DiUS. We're an Australian consulting company. We're passionate about technology, especially emerging technologies, and we're even more passionate about applying it the right way to help solve real business problems and address customer pain points. We form cross-functional product delivery teams with our clients. We love getting to know their customers and work closely with them to bring their ideas to market. DiUS is quite unique in that we have deep in-house expertise across digital, data, which includes AI and machine learning, and devices or Internet of Things, and have the experience and know-how to bring it all together. And we do this with experience design at the heart of everything we do, as you'll hear about in this talk. Last session, we focused specifically on computer vision, which has been a successful application area within AI and machine learning. In today's session, we'll be touching on conversational AI and chatbots, which has also become a popular area. So without much further ado, over to you, Tom.
Cool, thank you, Mark. Thanks everyone. Thanks for taking some time out today to be with us. I'm Tom Wall. I'm a principal consultant from DiUS. I work in the experience design team. So what we're going to be talking about today is our experience with designing and developing products and experiences with an omnichannel approach. I mean, initially I'm just going to go big, zoom out a bit, and talk about what omnichannel means. What some of the opportunities are, some examples, and then hand back to Brian, and he can talk you through sort of some work we've done with NIB and some chatbots. So omnichannel, big word for a complex world. You know, as a byproduct of the rush to go digital, there's that connection and interconnection between data sources, between touch points, entry points. There's really no excuse anymore to send customers to another touch point if you can't help them here and now. We talk about customer expectations around speedy resolution and data always being available, you know, from the back end to the point of contact and even physical retail. Everything tied together is, I guess, is the ultimate goal. You know, I think we all know that digital transformation is a given now. Companies are either well on their way or on the other side of the work. You know, a digital business should be dynamic, able to pivot and shift, sense and respond. I mean, this is all things we all talk about. But I mean, there's also the reality that a large business is a complex beast of competing products, experiences, touch points, self-service gateways and apps. So I guess what really glues it all together, I guess as we see it, we see the glue is data and the connection between different sources. And this is where the kind of the magic happens. Being able to interact with something physically, interact with whether it be a chatbot or a staff member, and have that data sort of come together into an improved experience. That's the ultimate kind of North Star we're talking about. You know, it's how seamless experiences can be, not necessarily about channels. And I guess this is sort of changing the entire service and support landscape. From the front desk, from that initial point of contact, all the way through to the back end. So I guess what is an omnichannel customer experience? Again, it's a bit of a buzzword, but you know, from online to phone, from letter in the mail to the web, physical retail, and any combination of all these. the customer is expecting consistency, flexibility, and information to be at hand. That's what we're used to now. So, some examples of this is Starbucks, allowing customers to order, pay, track purchases, collect points, and update profiles through devices and in-store interactions, or just being able to place an order via app, save your favorites, and pick up your food from anywhere. Some commonalities, I mean, I look at different examples of a great omnichannel experience. Be that there's that connection and interconnection again of data and services, bringing together the physical and the digital for new opportunities, to save time, to improve experience, and measurement and metrics. So this is a big one. We know that in the CX world, it's generally been focused on things like CSAT, NPS, measurement of experience, sampling a customer's journey. But when you add technology, devices, data into this, it's an even deeper well of measurement and metrics to improve your product and improve a customer's experience. So some examples, I mean, we've got Disney here. This is sort of the granddaddy of them all. This is the Magic Band. So this was introduced to their parks and their customers a couple of years ago now, but this really ties the whole Disney experience together. Even before anyone gets to the park, you can buy your band at the park, or if you have a season pass, that can be on your band. So before you've even landed, before you've even arrived, before you've even parked, you have access to bookings, personalization of your visit, that kind of thing. Customers can be greeted, offered personalized experiences. They can generate loyalty points and discounts across rides, food retail, gift purchases. This is truly omnichannel. And it's all tied together with back-end data between these channels, and it's generating really valuable measurement for the park to measure and improve. And the value is not only for the customer, the value is there for the business as well, to identify pain points, issues, gaps in service. I mean, we all know with analytics, analytics can tell one story, but it's the customer's actual experience that really matters. A bit closer to home, I think we all know this one now, but Coles introducing click and collect, probably even more current and important, linking physical inventory, online ordering, and flexible, secure, physical, contactless pickup. It gives customers the opportunity to choose when and where to pick up their order, rather than having to wait for a delivery truck, or book in a slot, or leave home to pick it up at the supermarket. It could be closer to their home, their work, or anywhere along their journey. There's that flexibility there. Final example, I guess David Jones, they've been a bastion of traditional department store retail. They've probably struggled a little bit in recent years, but I mean, their focus was on really trying to rejuvenate their outdated systems and processes to get things working together for a better customer service. So they worked really hard on connecting customer data to their customer service centers through AWS Connect, an AI-based virtual assistant. And much like you'll hear from Brian, customers are automatically identified by their mobile. They can be greeted again, that personalized service. They can see what the history is and matched with the profile in Salesforce. So all these pieces sort of coming together to be able to, I guess, be more flexible in how the business can help, but also provide a deeper, more useful experience. They were also using natural language processing to sort of pick up and triage the reason for the call. So that increases efficiency, that increases the amount of calls they can handle as well. So I guess where to start, best place is always to start small, but the first challenge is kind of removing silos. So to allow that sort of connection and interconnection, whether that's across an organization, whether it's between systems or just different channels. Understanding your tech, talking about the David Jones example with a lot of legacy systems, understanding what they're capable of, what's possible, and what needs to be changed. Knowing your numbers, talk about metrics and measurement, sort of where are your key issues at the moment, where's the money best spent, where's the value going to be in trying to solve a problem for a customer, and understanding how it fits into your customer's journey. I mean, for every different customer, whether your business be retail or whether it be finance, understanding where you fit into your customer's life is great help on designing products for them. Nowadays we talk more and more about personalization and how that can happen, and that can't happen without understanding how you fit into someone's life. And as I said, we've done a lot of work in chat at the moment. It's a great entry point to sort of tying these services together, and it's a great area for rapid experimentation as well. You really only need an existing web page, a problem you want to solve, and an easy business case for this is sort of supporting call centers as well. But other than that, we've seen student support and resolving student queries. We've seen, engaging with plasma donors with education and engagement, or purely just connection to services and information. A great entry point to just providing access and connection. So we know, new emerging tech, it takes a lot of moving quickly to get initial results. And it also takes a lot of perseverance to kind of iterate and keep on going. Organizations need to be prepared, need to upskill, understand the tech, and have an experimental mindset. Sometimes this stuff won't work straight away, but Brian will talk about sort of hit rates and improvements and how they can be improved drastically with metrics and measurement and monitoring and iterating and improving. So Brian's going to talk through his experience with NIB and NIBI, how we've seen things come together quickly and an approach we've seen work. So I'll hand over to Brian to talk more about that. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Tom. Welcome, everyone. Hi, I'm Bryan Signey. I'm a lead engineer here at DiUS. And I was also the lead engineer on the NIBI, the Chatbot project for NIB. So I'm going to talk about, as Tom mentioned, the approach that we've seen work when delivering a Chatbot project and the benefits that NIB has experienced with using chatbots and are now also looking to extend towards IVR. So as you know, being NIB customers or being health insurance customers, they've got multiple channels that they can interact with when dealing with NIB. So if you think about it, you've got your face-to-face in-store interaction, your website, the NIB website, and their mobile apps. There's a voice channel, and there's obviously the chat. Now, chat is actually becoming the preferred way for a lot of customers in interacting with organizations. So for NIB, this means that they receive like tens and thousands of requests coming through the chat channel each year. And they've identified some inefficiencies in this channel. So they get a lot of requests which needs specialist customer service persons to resolve. So for example, if you're looking to join NIB, then you need to talk to a salesperson. to handle that request. And they also found that a lot of chat agents are handling low value and highly repeatable tasks. Things like changing your account details, changing your name, your address, that sort of thing. So NIB started looking into chatbots and how they can improve customer experiences and to help augment, their live chat customer agents in resolving customer issues in a more efficient and quick manner. So NIBI does this through 2 ways. So it triages all requests coming through the chat channel. It looks to handle simple and repeatable tasks. So so things like self-serving requests, like changing your contact details. Instead of a customer agent handling that, it'll be NIBI that will handle that. And any other complex requests, so non-self-service requests, NIBI will gather the customer information such as their name, residency, and member status, determine the relevant live chat team to handle the request, and pass that user on and their information to that live agent team. So I'm about to pass to you what I'm about to show you, and it's on the screen now, is some success metrics that NIB released over when NIBI turned 2 years. So this was last year's success metrics. So over the 2 years that that NIBI's been up and running, well, it's actually bordering close to 3 years now. NIBI's actually had over 80,000 member interactions. So it's handled over 80,000 member requests. 85% of those, NIBI has successfully identified what the user is asking for, and either guided them through a self-service feature or gathered the correct information for the user and passed that on to the relevant live agent team. The other 15%, although NIBI is not able to recognize or resolve them, NIBI still gathers the general information about the user and seamlessly transition that customer to a general live chat team to help still resolve the customer issues. And in all these 80,000 member interactions, NIBI has helped save over 2,500 hours of consultant handling time. What this means is consultants are able to handle customer and resolve customer queries on average a lot faster before NIBI came into existence. So NIBI's impact on the business has been so well that NIB's investing further into this technology. So they want NIBI to be able to handle over 1 million member interactions each year. And they're doing this through several ways. So one is to expand NIBI's capability to be across NIB's group operations. So that includes their international operations, particularly around New Zealand. They want to expand NIBI's self-service feature. So expand all its self-service feature and make it more available 24/7. So it's always on. And more importantly, in an omnichannel world, the next step that they're looking at is applying NIBI to their voice channel. So no longer, if you're going through a telephone support, no longer will customers be looking to, press 1 to do this, press 2 to do that, trying to press the right numbers to get to the right team to handle their request. They'll be interacting with NIBI. And the objective there is that NIBI will be providing the same kind of service and the same benefits, whether you're going through the chat channel or whether you're going through the voice. Next slide, please, Tom. So chatbot or chats, not like any other channels. Voice is in the same way. They're essentially the front door to your business. So the concierge, if you will, in the digital world. So it's really imperative that if you've got your chat servicing both the chat channel and or the voice, that we need to get the chatbot right. So we're going to talk about dive deeper into the approach we've taken with Nibby and in our other chatbot projects to help. To show you the best way that a chatbot you can design and build. So the imperative thing for us here is that to get the best resolution for your chatbot, you need to get your chatbot out as soon as possible. Get it to interact with your users, learn from that interaction, feed that back into your chatbot, and iterate and improve through that way. So the first stage that we're going through, next slide please, Tom, is the discovery and validation phase. This is typically just a one sprint. And in this stage, this is where we validate if the chatbot is able to solve our business problems, to address the problems there. So in this case, help NIB live chat agents resolve customer requests quicker and provide a better user experience for their customers. We do this through several ways. Next slide, please, Tom. So we do this through several ways. And the first thing that we do is to narrow the chatbot's domain. So you want to reduce your risk with a simple chatbot pilot release, focusing on providing a chat option for one that's highly repetitive, high volume, but simple task. And then we build on from that. So in the case of NIB and Nibby, we identified two things that Nibby would be able to address right off from the start. So we're using one low value, highly repetitive task, which is changing the customer details. So changing something that's changing address, changing phone number. Nibby will be designed to direct the user into how to do this. And then we also looking at one highly value but slightly complex request. In this case, we're looking to identify new customers. So this request can't be handled by a self-service feature, and it needs assistance for the sales team. Now we've narrowed a domain, identified some simple tasks that we can get Nibby to focus on. It's now time to start writing the script. Start writing what the conversation flow will look like for this. So you want to spend some time thinking about how this works. So you want to keep the conversation flow for the chat between the chatbot and your user as simple as possible. So the less the bot does means the fewer opportunities that the conversation going off the rails and getting the customers the answers that they need. Excuse me. So you want to think things through, such as when to branch the conversation, when to allow the users to put their inputs or make them select options. How do you show the results and what the results should include? So when's a good time to pass on to the live agent? What information do you need to pass on to the live agent? So that's a seamless transaction and you don't get the users repeating what they want. And importantly, how you want that interaction to ideally resolve itself and also to the customer satisfaction. In writing your script, you also take the opportunity also to create a personality for your chatbot. You want your chatbot to sound human, to embody the traits that you want for your brand. All right. For our experience with NIB, that their live agents already have kind of the language and tone that all the agents adhere to when they're engaging with customers. And so we based Nibby off of that direction. And the final thing, you test your conversation. So for us, on our experience, we built a chatbot prototype, which just had all the conversation flow and no action, and just test that against real users. And we learned a lot of stuff. For example, the users didn't necessarily follow the start of our script. They could start at the middle of what we thought the conversation would be. We and we took advantage of this, learned how to interact with the chatbot, with Nibby, with our prototype, fed that back into Nibby, and got our prototype working seamlessly with the users. So the next phase for that, for this, is it's now time to build our chatbot. So I'm not going to talk about how we built our chatbot, because regardless of what technology you're using, whether you're using AWS, Google, Louise, or more agnostic platforms such as Rasa, they all boil down to three things for a chatbot: identifying a user's intent, using utterances to train your chatbot in how to recognize the user's intent, and finally, what the chatbot's response will be. What I do want to concentrate, next slide, please, Tom. Several things you want to build during your design phase. I think we mentioned this earlier. You want your chatbot out as soon as possible, learn from it, feed that back to your chatbot, iterate over and over again. So the only way you're going to do this is through two different things of importance. You want to have a CI and CD strategy. You want to build a flexible foundation to be able to deploy a chatbot quickly and often. So a quick exercise we did with NIB and Nibby when we launched Nibby, we observed daily at the start of our day how Nibby was interacting, how he was tracking well with the users, identify where Nibby struggled or had the less than satisfactory interaction with with the users, fed that back into Nibby and deploy the same day, and do it over and over again. In that way, we improved Nibby quite substantially. We also were able to do this because we had a feedback loop within Nibby, meaning we kept track. We had metrics, we had reports to tell us how well Nibby is tracking. Just some examples: we tracked missed utterances, so where Nibby didn't recognize the user's request, so, and not just the sentence, but the whole conversation. So we have some sort of context on where Nibby struggled there. How many, the types of requests coming through this channel. And one of the more important things is tracking how satisfied the users are when in their interaction with Nibby. All of this data allows us to improve our chatbot Nibby. And finally, error handling, right? So it's important for any type of application to be able to handle errors coming through, but it's really more critical when you're talking about chatbots here. After all, if you look at visual applications like web, mobile, when an error happens, the user just can come back or refresh their screen and start all over. Can't ask that in a chatbot environment, or if you're thinking about omnichannel, when you've got a customer on the phone, you can't ask them to repeat everything from the start again. It's not a good experience. So think about how you want your chatbot to interact with the user when an error happens. Finally, our final stage is we've got a chatbot. We want to launch it now and observe. Just to give you a story, expand on our story a bit more. When we first launched Nibby, next slide, please, Tom. Okay, so when we first launched Nibby with only a handful of use cases they can interact with, looking at how successful it interacted with users and resolved their users. So our first 2 weeks, we only had a 24% success rate. So it sounds kind of low, but if you think about it, out of all the requests that are coming through the chat channel, Nibby's only geared to handle a handful of those. And the rest, it will still gather information and pass on to the live agent team, to a general pool of live agent teams. So our success rate is quite low, but we got enough information on our metrics to suggest that Nibby will be able to meet its objective, which is improve customer user experience and help the agents solve their customer problems in a much more quickly. So monitoring Nibby and feeding what we learned from Nibby's interaction back onto Nibby. After 10 weeks, we got that success rate up to 70, which really made NIB really happy with this experiment, with what it experienced. So now, what drives this success? So if you're looking at where NIB is at now and where they're at with Nibby, the chatbot, and they're experimenting with Nibby interacting in the voice channel. What drove it? So first of all, it's understanding your customer's journey end to end. So looking at what requests are coming through the voice channel, looking at what request comes through the chat channel, understanding how to handle this, and how to seamlessly transition this to a contact center person or a chat agent person, such that the user's experience through here is seamless. You got to have an experimental mindset. I mean, as you saw in the previous slide, when we first launched Nibby, we only had a 24% success rate. So this seems like an uncomfortable start, but by being experimental, learning from Nibby's interactions with users and feeding that back, allowed us to greatly make this project a success. Perseverance through this. So you want to view, including an experimental mindset, perseverance through the initial uncomfortable part of the journey. All right, making Nibby as part of the NIB's central customer service operation. Persevering through that allowed us to drive success. And we're hoping that we're looking that Nibby interacting in the voice channel with IVR would have the same benefits, but that would only work by being experimental, and persevering through it. And of course, ongoing support. So investing in this technology, investing in this experience would greatly drive success, not only on the voice, but on our chat channel as well. So what's next? I'll pass it over to Tom. Talk more about what's coming up, what's next for us.
So I guess thanks, Brian. We were talking about NIB and chatbots, and we talked about some of the bigger examples at the beginning. But I guess some of the opportunities of bringing physical, digital devices together. We're all in lockdown in Victoria. It's been a particular experience. thinking about what's going on with physical retail, physical retail plus. Maybe you have a customer, maybe who has been shopping online more during COVID, eager to get out again, but maybe not to a mall, because shopping online is convenient, cheaper, and increasingly personalized. Plus, getting packages is like Christmas. I mean, how do we bring that convenience and personalization of the digital experience back to bricks and mortar? Physical retail needs an edge, and it can probably capitalize on what people have been missing out on with digital. So bringing that personal service and then enhanced physical experience back to shopping, but having customer service staff armed with the information they need for a smarter experience. So whether it be buying preferences, sizes, previous purchases, their loyalty status, their name, I mean, these are things that can be brought into the kind of physical realm. Talk about preemptive service. Mark was talking originally around machine learning and patterns. If John has bought an expensive washing machine, with the hope that he would have less problems over his lifetime after a previous bad experience, calling a technician out after the fact is expensive and it's hard to juggle sometimes. But, from the beginning of that device lifetime, from its purchase, warranty registration, to service notifications and preemptive servicing, if we have product and customer data connected to devices and mobile, identifying patterns where, over a lifetime of a device, maybe 6 months down the track, maybe, 100,000 revolutions, problems can be headed off early, responded to quickly, scheduled flexibly, solving some of those issues that I think we all know about. Products can be measured, monitored, and improved. Why does it just have to be digital products? Why should customers feel like they need to worry about their purchase? If you've bought an expensive washing machine, you want your chosen brand to be ahead of the game. And the last one, I mean, that opportunity for deeper data. So example of Laura, who's allergic to certain ingredients. She usually sticks to a small group of trusted products. But if her product isn't in stock, does she not purchase what she needs? What are her options? I mean, this is another opportunity to resolve questions around product, around product origin, food safety info, alerts for her particular circumstances, or just alternative recommendations that might be safe. So connecting inventory data to the consumer via scanning their chosen product with a phone. You could offer help, advice, or just a better deal. So bringing some of the advantages of what digital is giving us and bringing it into the physical, and sort of fitting into people's lives, solving their problems. So for Laura, who it's a safety issue, or John, it's just a worry. There are opportunities there to kind of personalize and shape offerings. So thank you. I think we've sort of hit our time now. So we'll be making this available if there's anything more you wanted to know, or you could go omnichannel, love that word, join our DiUS Slack community, because there will be another chance for more questions after today. But we've got some time now, so we can jump onto Slido and try to answer anything that has come up. So we've got the link there. I think, Erin, you're going to be the MC for the questions.
I am. Thank you, Tom and Brian. Really good talk. So we've got a couple of questions that have come in. The first one, Tom mentioned metrics and know your numbers, and then Brian discussed a few specific to chatbots. What are some of the key metrics for omnichannel CX?
I mean, I guess the traditional ones have been NPS and CSAT. But I think the ones I've seen be successful are really based around a business's OKRs, you know, defining success metrics at the start for the business and for the consumer, and being able to, you know, target them. And so whether that's a sort of an increase in conversion, a reduction in sort of calls to the support center, yeah, I think that there's many different ways to kind of skin the cat, slice the pie, but really defining them up front and being quite clear about what you want to achieve is probably most important. There's plenty of software out there to sort of try and pull out data to be recording analytics and events. But I know for myself and in my current project, you know, having too much data can actually be an issue. So being clear about what you do want to know is probably the most important thing.
Fantastic. Thanks, Tom. When it comes to choosing the right platform for chat, what are some of the options?
Brian,
sorry, I was on mute. I was on mute back then. So it all boils down to what you want to do with your chat. For example, like AWS, Google, all our cloud service providers, they all have a chatbot as a service function. So AWS has got Lex, Google's got Dialogflow, Microsoft has Louise, IBM's got, I can't remember what the IBM is, but all of them are designed to get you up and running quicker. Get your chatbot up and running. If you want to go a bit more a customization kind of flow on your conversation or what your chatbot can handle, you can look at some of the more agnostic services and offering, like Chatbot, like Raza, for example, allows you to have more control over your training data and what you want and what your chatbot can do in response to requests. So there's a number of services and options there for you. And like I said, it boils down to what are you trying to achieve with your chatbot, and work backwards from there.
Fantastic. Thanks, Brian. I have a question. So you mentioned IVR. So firstly, what is IVR? And then also, how do you see chatbots and IVR working together?
So IVR is basically, your interactive voice response. So we're talking about anything to do with the voice channel. Traditional IVRs, I suppose a lot of you guys have experienced that now, calling all your services, and then you get something like, press 1 for this option, press 2 for that option, and then you kind of have to struggle listening to all the options and finding the right one to get to what you want to do. More often than not, a lot of people just sit there and wait till the end so that they can talk to a chat agent, to a contact center agent. Having chatbot as interacting in this space brings a lot of the benefit that I mentioned before with NIB launch with NIBI. So now you could be able to offer some self-service feature to your customers in the voice channel without them having to interact with a contact person. Think about it. If you just want to change your password or change your address, why do you need to wait for a contact agent to be available? You could call them in the middle of the night where there's no contact agent there and be able to change your address quickly, right? Then there's that other option of, instead of listening and pressing numbers to get you to the chat agent and then waiting in that pool, you've got your chatbot now working out what you want to do, authenticating you if that needs be, and then directing you to the agent that's available, the best available. So there's a lot of benefits that with the chatbot interacting with your IVR or your voice in there for you.
Great, thanks so much, Brian.
Thank you.
We just had another question come through. How important is it to customers to ensure consistency across the omnichannel experience?
I can take that one. I guess, yeah. It's a tough one. I mean, how do you offer that consistency? Personally, I think it's very important, whether you're going in store, whether you're calling on the phone. You know, you want your history, you want your preferences to be remembered. You want to be known as Tom or Brian or Aaron, or you don't just want to be a number. So I guess picking up where the conversation has last left, you know, whether it's a previous call or previous purchase, I think it's doable now, as well as incredibly important.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tom. That looks like all the questions. So thank you so much for your presentation and for your time, Tom and Brian, and thank you to everyone for joining us. As Tom previously mentioned, both Tom and Brian will be on Slack over the next couple of days. So if you do have any follow-up questions, please join the DiUS Slack community. We'll send a link out to you all shortly and ask those questions in the Ask Me Anything channel. But I think unless anyone else has got any questions, that's a wrap.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
Wonderful.